Hello, my name is David Tveraas, and I'm the designer for Absolution, a Vampire Tale, which was my entry for Vampire Jam. This video is an overview of the process I went through in creating the game. I used many resources while developing Absolution, including Unreal Engine 4, which was the base engine of the game, MetaHumans, which I used to create the player characters and core NPCs, and a couple other free creation programs, including Blender for 3D models, GIMP for 2D models, Audacity for audio, and some others. Uh, Before I started creating the code, however, I needed to come up with an idea. I started jotting down ideas on like a Word document. The first idea that I had was for a Vampire the Masquerade CRPG. I'm a big fan of games like Baldur's Gate, like the old Icewind Dale games, that kind of thing. Um, that's the project. But yeah, that project I wanted to spend more than a month on, though, so I don't think it was quite right to create the vertical slice of that for Vampire Jam. I'll spend some time a little now after Vampire Jam to get that together. So I pivoted to my next idea. I did remember that when Bloodlines was announced, also when Cyberpunk 2077 came out, people were kind of up in arms about both those games not having a third person view. So I decided to like do an imagination of what that would look like a just a third person RPG with action and a lot of role playing dialogue, that kind of thing. Um, so I needed a script. I didn't have any writers on my team. I might not be the greatest writer in the world, so I just took the task on myself. Wrote a script just in one day, making sure that I had something that was just a base, serviceable. This is what the game's about. Um, I drew inspiration for that directly from the Vampire core book. I was looking around, flipping pages, and I saw the NPC core stats, and I was like, "Oh, okay. Here's a like an anarch type character. Here's a white. Here's like a priest of Cain. Those are now characters in my world. They will be part of the story." And I built the story from there. Um, and then I had the location. The idea was the city of Alderwood. It's a fictitious city, not a real one. There's a city called Alderwood, kind of near me. Um, it's not based on that location exactly, but I thought it had a cool name, so I just went with that, just rolled with it there. Um, and it was also important to me to have like a character selection screen so that the players can choose who they were, what they look like. Not a full character creator, but just some options. I'm a big advocate for player agency. Wanted them to have some variety, choose how they play, like what abilities they had, that kind of thing. I also wanted Absolution voiced. That was a must, to have a lot of voices in there. So I put out a call to voice actors, just a blast on social media, like Facebook, Twitter. I only had 8 voice characters, and I was worried I wasn't going to get enough people, but I had over 30 voice actors contact me and said they wanted to be part of this project. So with the overflow, I came up with some ideas, like had a group put together that I couldn't cast and had them create their own Deb of Night style radio show that's called the Graveyard Shift. You can see that in game. Um, I really love my friends on social media. It's great they all wanted to work with me. If I ever get like a paid gig for them, I'll definitely think of those people first that really wanted to work for me for this. Um, Now let's get to how I actually did this. Let's see if my page timed out or not. It looks like I'm still here. This is MetaHumans. This is how I created the characters. Um, so the way this works is right now MetaHumans is in beta. You might have seen these characters before if you've seen the recent the Matrix Unreal Engine 5 demo. The main character that you play in that tech demo that they just a couple days ago released uses this same technology. In fact, the character they did, I think it was based off of Ada here. They changed her hair, gave her a new outfit. But that's kind of basically what I did for Absolution. If you can see here, if you have an account, I created my own character here. You see logged in as me, David Tveraas. Here's some of the characters I created for Absolution and some of my other games. Unfortunately, Ava's beautiful blue hair did not translate as soon as I uploaded that in Real Engine. It kind of freaked out. In fact, Dialena's pink hair, um, it must have been reading the color change as extra length to the hair because her hair reached the floor. Her bangs touched the floor and they were messy and all over the place. So I just swapped out her hair with some of the other assets that I had. Morgan's hair definitely behaved. Let me zoom out here as soon as he loads. So you can see like all the different. I think it's, yep, that's the button. There's a lot of hotkeys, so you could just like see like where their outfits are. Um, this allows me to create a new character. I can create a new character. You can't just do it from scratch. You have to base it off of another character. So if I wanted to do a new character, I can do it here, duplicate it. But I'll just show you how they show you like the movements and animations that he can have. But they also have like tons of like things to edit here. This is basically, if you were interested in metahumans, look it up yourself. It's actually a really cool thing to play around with. I think you still need to apply to the beta and get in. But it's actually an amazing program. And this is how I created my characters, and then I exported them through this other program here. Let me pull that up. So this is Quixel Bridge. Quixel Megascans has some amazing resources. They are all free for use in Unreal Engine. And I think that you can use them in other things too, but I have to look that up. Don't hold me to that. But they, since Epic Games has purchased both MetaHumans and Quixel, they're using the Quixel Bridge as basically the upload program for MetaHumans. You can see here, I have my MetaHumans loaded here. These are the same ones you saw that I created earlier. Well, these aren't. These are the basic ones. Where are my presets? MetaHumans, local. They're here somewhere. My MetaHumans. There we go. These are the ones that I created. There's Ava, Morgan, Cass, Dante. These are all characters that are in Absolution. Xylena, Jasmine, Kendra, and Juan. These three are the playable characters, and these are the 5 NPCs. The rest of these characters are for other games and projects I've worked on. But as a tip, Quixel Bridge has access to the whole Megascans library. What Quixel is it's a company that scans real-life objects. As you can see here, there's these pristine metals, grass, wetlands, vehicles, mud splashes. Those are just like the highlighted ones they got here. So you can get free materials, like really high-quality materials, really high-quality meshes for free. It's a great resource. Get plants. They just came out with trees. They had a hard time scanning trees because they're so like broad and there's a lot of parts to it. They wanted to make sure it looked organic. But they also have an amazing variety of decals. This is a free program to download, and you can download all these things directly to your project as well. I did use some of these, especially some of the textures for my ground, which I'll show you right now. Why not? I will. Finally, we made it to Unreal Engine 4. Unreal Engine 5 is out now for beta. I'm going to start working on projects in that, but it's not production ready. But Unreal Engine 4 is still tried and true. Great, fantastic program. As you can see here, excuse me. This is just the viewport here. This project is the project for Absolution. You're actually in the game's editor here. If you've played the game, then you probably recognize this area. It's the starting area. You probably don't recognize from this height, though. I'm flying around just in editor mode. So the way I started this is you create a landscape. Up here in modes, you can see there's landscapes up here. I'll switch over to landscape mode, and as you can see here, let's see if I can select the whole landscape itself. Yeah, right now I've got the sculpt mode on. So right now, this is how I got the dimensions of the ground here. Let me do a quick edit here. I'll just click here. See the bump? It's growing up and up and up. That's how I created the hills. I'll Control Z to undo that. Builds all the nav meshes for me. See how reactive Unreal Engine is. I'm actually a really big fan of this program. So that's how I created this. I custom built specific landscape files here. Right here in Paint, you can see them. These I actually pulled from Quixel Megascans. This asphalt, clover, and dried grass. Those are the three ones I used for the most part. Asphalt was most of the map. because it's in a city, you can see this color. This is the asphalt that I painted on. But if I wanted to like paint like dried grass here, you just paint it right on. I could paint it all over here. And that's just like the basic ground interaction there. I'll undo that as well. So that's how I created the basic landscape here. Then we go to the other mode, foliage. This is, I decided to, since I started off in a cemetery here, all of these gravestones are actually foliage. It's a pretty common practice to use like tree as foliage. But if you go really close to this grass, it's actually really, really cool looking grass. It even sways in like a simulated breeze. There's a line down in the grass right now. It's real nice. Yeah, so these tombstones are also foliage. I painted these on as well. If you see over here, there's a count of how many of each are there. And that paints on just like the paint on the ground. And in the distance here, if you jump over to it, let me break the suspension of disbelief here, and these mountains are just kind of floating in the sky. These are just assets that I picked up from an asset pack. It gives you more of the appearance that this is a big, world that you can explore and check out. I know when Outstar played the game, she correctly identified my invisible walls. Let's see if I can find them here. Oh, maybe I won't be able to. Anyway, what you just saw just now, the reason everything turned yellow is because I accidentally clicked on a piece of foliage. All the foliage in Unreal Engine is a single object, so it that to save on resources, and it just highlighted everything. Speaking of these assets, though, this actually I really love this eagle. Eagle looks really cool. Let me show you where I got my asset packs. So this is the Unreal Engine launcher. It's the whole Epic Games launcher. It includes the Unreal Engine launcher here. It also has their store and like library if you want to buy games, but I've never really used this really much at all. I'm more interested in this tab right here for the Unreal assets. There's great resources to learn here. Another great place to learn is there's actually a whole website dedicated just to free courses to learn how to do Unreal Engine, and for a lot of reasons. Actually, I could list some of the reasons right here. In the marketplace, it has this other tab for industries. So it's not just games, it's also architecture, automotive, transportation, fashion, film, broadcast, training, simulation. I've seen it used for military application, medicine, tons of fields. It's huge in architecture and automotive, though. Now, this is the marketplace. There's always free content. There's a permanently free collection. If you're interested in Unreal, look through this, pick up anything you can. In fact, you have to go ahead and quote purchase it. It doesn't, if it's free, it doesn't cost any money, but then it's permanently in your library. They also have great sales all the time, but as far as free content, they also have free for the month. There's, I think it's always 5 assets every single month, like literally every month. This is the December's load, but I've been doing this since 2018 and picking up free content all over the place. Like this shows like a whole action RPG starter set, so you know how to do that kind of stuff, an endless runner starter template. Those are both really useful for those if you're doing these particular game sets or something similar. I didn't use any of these in particular, but I did. Let me show you my library here. These are the only other projects that I'm working on or have finished. But yeah, my asset library is pretty extensive. Each one of these is an asset I can either add to a project or install to an engine or create a project of its own. So the ones that I used for Absolution, let's get back to Unreal Engine here. This was like a graveyard asset pack, for example. The cathedral came from its own asset pack. Some phenomenal artists created these, and most of them are free. I don't think I spent much money on the ones that 'cause I try not to spend any money because I don't have an income revenue stream for my games yet. But hopefully one day, fingers crossed, I would love to do this full time. This one actually came from a nice little town pack. It's pretty cool, interesting fountain. Um, anyway, let's get back to how I created this game. If you notice, there's little lights everywhere, lighting. Like this is a what do they call this? A spotlight, and it goes straight down. There's also directional lights, and there's the moon itself has its own light. If you click here, moonlight, you'll see that there's 10 lux intensity. I actually gave the light a certain color and that sort of thing. Honestly, the lighting isn't my strongest suit. I tried my best. I am still learning in many regards, but I am very happy with the way this turned out. There are some things, of course, that's what I like. I like some of this glare. I think that's always beautiful when it's realistic like that. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of these things. It's just a click and drag. Let me see where this came from. Uh, if I wanted another chapel, I can just click it. Look at that. I got another chapel. It's actually pretty simple to just place things into a level. I'm going to delete that because I don't want a second chapel. But that everything in this level, including the moon, that's an object I created myself. It's not letting me click on it. It must be that it's too far away. Moon blueprint. This is something I created myself. Like literally, this is an asset I got from the marketplace. I just got a picture of the moon, added a glow. I put it on just a sphere. Took a picture of the actual real life moon, put it on a sphere, added a glow to it, made this blueprint. So an Unreal Engine, blueprints are one of the most powerful tools. So to create a blueprint, you just click anywhere, and like in here, for example. Maybe I gotta find a blank spot first. Let me try to find a blank spot. Here we go. Blueprint class. Actually, let me go back. If you notice here, there's just tons of different types of files you can create in Unreal Engine. Each one of these probably has its own course or several courses. You probably can find. Actually, this is what I'm really interested in here is enumeration of structures. I'll get back to that later. But right now, blueprint classes. If you notice here, there's tons of different types of blueprint classes as well. Lots and lots to learn. It's real fun though. I just made an actor for that. But if you want pawns or characters, like playable characters, or if you're going to do an AI for a character that's like an NPC, the game modes, everything's in here. It's nuts. If you're interested, please look at the many resources Epic Games allows for their learning Unreal Engine. I'd love to grow this community and meet a lot of people. And if anyone's interested in talk to me about Unreal Engine, just hit me up. It's pretty easy to find me. I'm posting this. I'll post some of my contact information below. If anyone wants to work with me, let me know, of course. Here we go. This is an invisible barrier right here. If you notice, if you played the game, you don't see a big white wall. This is hidden in the game. Everything has its own actor hidden in game. If you notice, well, let me finish this thought first. Actor hidden in game, everything has its own qualities here in the details. Like anything you click on, this car, for example, is not hidden in game. And it's got its own stats here. It's a static mesh effect. Look at that, huh? If you notice this light says preview, that's because it hasn't been baked in this current version. So there's a lot of cool and interesting ways Unreal Engine helps you create your levels. The sky. I didn't talk about the sky. This I did tune myself as well. Let me see if I can. Yeah, sky sphere. So this is just the basic sky sphere. Um, it comes with its own pre-programmed stuff. This is Blueprint. This is what's known as Blueprints. It's a visual scripting language. I'll show you more of that later. If I could talk all day about this stuff, I need to cut this shorter. Yeah, so this I did all the settings for this. I didn't create the sky, but I adjusted this. This was a day sky initially, but you know it's a vampire game, so you got to make it night, um, and make sure that you know the lighting is low, that there's shadows, that there's a cool gothic cathedral, that sort of stuff. Um, let's move on to how I created the enemy AIs. Um, so most of the enemies are hunters, part of the Second Inquisition that are here to kill your vampire characters. Here's a guy right here. If you notice, he's got a bunch of collision boxes. He's got his normal capsule collision box. That's just, you know, that's standard for any character. There's a collision box behind him. This is because I created a stealth system in which you can take out your enemies with a stealth takedown. I did that via a collision box, and this cone is for reference. So when the character actually has the animation, it routes to that. So let's look at this blueprint. I wrote all this. For example, what's something cool here? When he hits. So if he's not mesmerized by the character, it will be a upper body animation. I'm just trying to translate this to anybody who doesn't know how to read Blueprint. I set it so that he's got an upper body animation that plays to his mesh being his body. If you see here, if I click on mesh, it's his body. This animation called Hunter Pistol Montage, which I'll check that out in a second. It plays for, I let it play for 0.4 seconds. Oh, yep, and at which time it spawns a bullet, which is another object I'll show you in a second. And it has this is an emitter. So this is for a cool effect. When he fires a bullet, it's going to have a little muzzle flash. So that's what this is. It's a little muzzle flash that comes out of his muzzle, plays a sound, little, because he shot a gun, delay, ends the upper body animation, so he's no longer shooting at you. And what I just promised you, two different things here. Here we go. Pistol montage. This is what a animation montage looks like once it loads. So he holds up the pistol. For some reason, he lost his shirt. You could see here in animations, it has got the full skeleton of the skeletal mesh. So I just had it so that he just lifts it up. So now it changes from his normal standing position to him holding the gun, and then he fires the gun. This one's actually pretty simple. There's a lot more complex ones in other characters. But yeah, I figured that was good enough. He just lifts the gun fires, puts the gun down, looking for it to see what the results of that were. The other thing that I want to show you is the blueprint for the bullet. So this is something I also created. So it's just a bullet. This is actually just a mesh I created. If you notice, it doesn't look quite very good, but it's so small that you can't really see it anyway in game. So this bullet actually spawns out of the gun and fires rapidly. This is the same bullet that the player uses when they fire their gun. So it's got a tiny, tiny little collision box. When it collides with an enemy, they take damage. Speaking of which, let's talk about interfaces. Interfaces are my friends. I love interfaces so much. An interface is simply a blueprint in this case, an interface is a blueprint in Unreal Engine that allows you to interact with another character. So after you create an interface, it can be blank, or it can have some assets or variables. I will show you the interfaces here, right here. No interfaces. That's because it is the master. Okay, so maybe I'm getting way ahead of myself, but there's a parent and child relationship here. Um, so the parent blueprint has this interface right here called iDamageable. That's kind of an industry standard. This being the parent of that other hunter, since there's multiple types of hunters, like ranged hunters, melee hunters, and other characters in the game. This is the parent class, which is just called Hunter. It has this event here from iDamageable, which I programmed into iDamageable. Actually, if I double click, will it open it? Yeah, here it is. This is the interface that I was talking about, iDamageable. If you notice, it's very bare bones. Blank, blank. All it has is this. Affect health. With a single input, which is a delta float. So it's just a number. So what happens is I say in the event, anything says that it affects health because it interfaces with iDamageable, then you should calculate health. So I created a function in here, calculates health. Basically, take damage. And then I had another function, calculate dead. If health is 0, less than or equal to 0, binary. Is dead, is not as dead. So basically is alive. And, you know, there you go. That's how you create characters that can live and die. Death from a bullet or other source. I won't go over the other types of damage because it's the same thing. But there's knives, there's disciplines that do damage, like Ball's Caress, for example. Since I randomly clicked here, this is my music system. When you enter the jazz club, this music plays, it stops all other music. This is just a simple version. If I had a more advanced game that had music all over the places, I'd probably have like an enumerator, things like connecting to stuff on a large, but this is like very simple. It's just like there's only 3 different songs, so stop the other 3, play this one. In fact, a lot of this stuff I would have constructed more eloquently if it was a larger project or one I had more time for, but I was just quickly throwing things together for this one. There is this section, which is all making sure that the character creator worked. So what you're looking at now, which I probably should have said at the beginning of this, is the player controller. This is a good spot to have anything that has to deal with the character specifically, that's not affecting them actually that's false. This is just something that will always be available when the player has control. Is that accurate? I'm not sure. I'll have to look that up. But anyway, this is also where I put all of the widgets to load. And here's the player character themselves. They also have a damage and health. They have a thing here to equip different weapons. So basically make sure they do their animation, do the upper body trick. Let me show you that actually. The upper body trick. Animations. Let's go to mesh. Right here. So this is the basic skeletal mesh. And this is the blend space for the character. And this is the anim graph. If you know here, notice here I did something which I find is interesting, is you can break up with the movement cache different parts of the body. So I just made it so that the upper body can have a different animation than the rest of the body. So the rest of the body can follow the standard state machine here, where it can run, jump, crouch, move all crouch, based on these presets. Like is sneaking, is in air, is less than 0.1 seconds. And it runs the whole entire time. However, if you go back to the anim graph, I split it so that there's this spot right here. Layered blend per node. Anything that happens above spine 1, which we go back to this one. That's spine 2. Spine 3. So spine 2 and up can do something entirely different. So in that instance, I can take an animation such as weapon attack, pistol montage, stab montage. Let's look at stab montage because we already saw a pistol montage earlier. Stab. Now if you notice, your foot doesn't randomly just like flick forward when you attack, when you stab in when playing Absolution. You just do this part. That's because I split the animation. All this doesn't happen. It just sticks to the normal state machine. And this is the animation. Animations in Unreal are actually really cool. They're pretty easy to edit. In fact, if I wanted to stop this, I could be like, hey, this bone, twist this way. My thumb. And if I wanted to save that, I could. And actually, what happens if I just hit play here? Does it stay? Yeah, look at that. His thumb's messed up. Anyway, I don't want to save that, so hopefully that doesn't save if I... I'll have to double check that later. Actually, let me go open that again, see if it stayed. No, it didn't. Okay, good. Yeah, I don't want to save something that messes it up that much. So there's an inventory action here. I did an inventory system function. I mean, I could go all day with this kind of stuff, so let me just hit the highlights. Interaction interface. So interfaces, as I said, I was a fan of because it lets you interact between characters and actors and stuff. Let me do an example of a discipline, since I created disciplines for this game. Here's a fun one. Blood of Potency. Balls Caress is pretty simple, so let's do Blood of Potency. It's a little more complex. Basically, I set a binary to see whether or not they're in a condition where they can Blood of Potency. Made sure that they are, get the buff that's Blood of Potency, and if it's false, then they get the buff. That they have enough blood to do it. I set this universal action cooldown. And if they don't have enough blood, then they do the hungry interface here. If they've got enough blood, then they do an upper body animation for I did a universal cast montage. Then they do the blood sorcery SFX that we created. Let me look at that. So this is the sound. That's the rush of blood for blood sorcery. And there's a special effect here too. Yeah, here we go. The Niagara particle system right here. So I did some special effects. Here it is. So just right on the character, just all this blood just kind of out. And that's back to the animation. So it makes that sound. It does the effect. They do the arm cast animation, and then it prompts the widget blueprint. Widgets is a fantastic type of blueprint. So if you notice, this is a rectangle, kind of the shape and size of a standard screen. So this is the buff indicator. It's saying, hey, this goes on your screen, it will appear, and eventually, as it leaves your screen, it'll do this. It'll flash, and then flash again, and then flash again, because I programmed for it. Not here. Where did I program for it? It is in... Oh, the discipline itself, isn't it? Yep, here, play animation. So it will loop. It'll play fade in. You'll have the potency. Its duration is 40 seconds. And while you have the buff... Actually, I think that's over here. Yep. It sets the damage that you do to 1 higher. and also increases your blood healing by 1. That's actually, since it affects another system, I think I put it in that other system, just because I was throwing stuff together so quickly. I keep on mentioning that. I was throwing stuff together so quickly, not because we only had a month to do this, but because my file got corrupt 2 days before this was due. And my prior save was a week before, which was when a lot of work wasn't done. So I threw together a lot of this stuff literally the night before Vampire Jam was due. So I did get a little sloppy. I would be a lot more orderly normally. In fact, most of my games are quite much more orderly. But I was just rushing to throw on stuff together for this. Not really an excuse. I mean, that could happen to anyone. I'm pretty sure that worse has happened to people. But, you got to do what you got to do. Yeah, right here. Potent Blood. You heal 2 health instead of 1. So this is another function that I created, was a blood heal that everybody gets. I didn't really consider it a discipline. You just hit Q, you blood heal. You play the animation, it does sound, has the whole upper body thing. And I just did that for everything. Everything had an upper body animation. Obfuscate put you in the stealth situation. Let me talk about that. I talked a little bit about the enemies. Let's talk about the enemy AI. So this is the enemy character again. If you notice, right, where is it? Right here. Ranged AI. This is his AI controller. So this is how he senses. Right in here, the enemy. Okay, so the AI controller, I talked about the player controller. This is the player controller where I put a whole bunch of things for the player. The enemy controller, obviously they're not a player, so they're going to have different controls. The player controls the character, so they don't need an intelligence. They have an actual intelligence behind the keyboard. Enemies do not, so it required these senses. A handling sense. Basically, it sets them on a patrol. They go through some areas, and if they see the player, they go for them and attack them. And it, you can do stuff like set movement to different movement rates, like if they're going to run right at the player when they see them, but they're just kind of walking otherwise. What else to say about this? This is where I did some interactions with the stealth, since a lot of the AI is based around stealth, where they're just on patrol until they see the character, then they run at them, then attack them. So to avoid that, you can cloak to avoid that situation, or you can vanish so that if they already saw you, you can disappear. Yeah, that's the basics of it. But it's also based off of this, what's known as a behavior tree. So the way this works is this will go left to right and a selector to see, here's the patrol sequence that we programmed here. By we, I mean being the YouTuber that I learned this from. There's an investigation sequence that if they hear your steps but don't see you yet, they'll go to look, they'll move to it. So this is the patrol route. See, it says find a point, rotate, reach the point. And here's the alert sequence. If they see you, the first thing they do is run at you, run to you. That's what this is. And if they don't see you anymore, then they just kind of wander around and be like, what was that? And then, however, if this fails and it goes here, then it's an attack sequence. They're like, oh, there they are. So they move to you, they find you, they walk to you, they get within range, they move to you, they attack, they wait, and then this will cycle until the combat's resolved, or you disappear. If you disappear, then they enter a caution state. And that goes up here. So this is them going into the caution state where they're looking for you again. And then they enter the caution state, which is here, where they're like, oh, guess they're not here. Exit caution state, back to the beginning. So it's a pretty simple one. It's actually, it's kind of buggy. I would have done something much more extensive if I had time, but game jam, so do what you got to do. There's the blood of potency widget. So widgets are great for lots of things, including, let me go up here to blueprints. We've got, here are the characters, the different player characters. Let me open another one of these so you can get a better look. and then I'll get back to widgets. So this is Jasmine. You saw her in metagames. Let me pull her up on bridge so you can see what it's. This is her right here. I imported her to Unreal, and as you can see, there's different components to her. I put this together, animated her. Oh, there's her eyelashes. She's still wearing her combat boots. Wow, I'm moving way too fast here. You can control the speed right here. If you notice, there's a lot of components to a character. This is the camera that you see from. This is her collision. These are different arrows representing different abilities. Like this is a fire point for the gun. This is a spawn point for like blood sorcery powers, that kind of thing. For combat, I put a literal collision on her hand. So if you want to hit something, you literally hit something. There's no like generated whether they're in like an area in front of her. If the blade's in her hand, this is where it will be, and that's where you can stab people. So it's actually pretty exact. Actually, if I do the melee hunter, you'll see that. The quickest way to the melee hunter is here. Melee hunter, I believe, just always has the blade in his hand. So if we pull up the melee hunter, yeah, got the blade in the collision box. So I was about to talk about widgets, not animation. And a good place for widgets is here. So widgets are just anything that's 2D on the screen. In fact, let me pull up another program here. This is called GIMP. This is a free program. A lot of people use things like, Photoshop or other creation programs. You see this red dot? That is something I created myself. I know I'm just a phenomenal artist. I can make a red circle. It's got this alpha so that you can see behind it. This was the hunger dot in the game. I just went in here, made a file, and imported it to Unreal, and that ended up being the basic interface for the game in the main HUD right here. If I open up, this is a blueprint. This goes over your screen. It's an overlay, that hunger dot. I made all these dots. Simple enough to do. Import it and use the widget interface to add hunger dots. Right here, I'll select a hunger dot, in fact. I created this gray one for the lack of hunger and the red one for the hunger. And just had it switch over. If you see here, it's got a bunch of checks to see what's full and what's not. That's how I created the basic hunger system. It's all a widget. Widget blueprint. Technically these are widgets. But a lot of times I'll just say widget when I mean widget blueprint because it contains all those widgets. And speaking of which, the whole dialogue system was based off of widgets. I see a lot of people in Unreal try to build their dialogue system using the same behavior tree for the AI. That is an interesting approach, and it seems to like a lot of people do that, but I think if you just use structures and enumerations, you probably can just build a system that's just as good using just blueprints and not a behavior tree, because it doesn't have to think about anything necessarily. It's just an input, so it should be basically binary, so here's the dialogue system I created for all these characters. Who should I use an example here? I will use Dante as an example because he shouldn't even be working today. So this is Dante. He is a mortal. He's not even a vampire. He works at the 24/7. So if you interact with him, let me pull him back up. I closed that too soon. if you noticed, there is a collision box in front of him instead of behind him. That's because you're not sneaking up on Dante. You're not that cruel, but instead you go here to interact and talk with Dante. That is all here. This is the interact, and this is the talk. But what happens when you talk with him? Well, that's what these blueprints are for. I probably didn't need to create different blueprints like this. I could have used like a structure and enumeration. But here's an example. Here's the introduction. He says, "Hello and welcome to the 24/7 Convenience. Did you find everything you were looking for?" So what happens is when this on event construct, it plays a sound. What sound? This sound.
Hello and welcome to 24/7 Convenience. Did you find everything you were looking for?
It's one of the phenomenal voice actors that helped me out with this. And then it checks to see if a certain quest happened. If that quest did happen, this thing appears. However, although you see it now, when you see it in-game, it will start as, well, it's the button. It will start as collapsed. That means this doesn't appear. It's gone. So it only appears if you have a certain quest. Which quest? The key quest. And each one of these... okay, so there's a lot of little sounds in the game. Like this is a jump cue. This is what... That's what the sound is when you click on something. And this one... That's the sound when something isn't working. Like if you don't have dominate. Or you don't have a key to a door, for example. And then it just moves on to a different state depending on which one you choose. In widgets, these could be buttons. So if you see over here, there's a button and overlaid with text. There's text associated with the button. And then there's text at the top, which is what, he says. That's the NPC. And these are all buttons. So if this button's available, you can click it. However, if it's not, you will only see these other options. And then it will go to, for example, this one will go to Dante Dialogue 3. So that would be, go back here, Dante Dialogue 3. And you have these options now. He says, take a look at 24/7's Find Selection. It allows you to purchase things or just leave. If you notice over here, again, it's got a dialogue queue. And if you purchase something, it adds it to your inventory. You'll create a widget. Another widget. We're talking widgets here. It's like, for example, this one. That's not right. Why is that so low? What happens when I play? There we go. So this is what happens. Why have pizza or nachos when you can have both? Great to share with hungry friends. What? Friends? Well, you just found an error right here. Friends. Nobody told me that. What? There we go. I can spell, I swear. Well, I'm going to have to push out another patch just for that. Good thing I did this. There we go. So that appears on your screen. It's a nice little effect. Now it's in your inventory. Why? Because back on the character, there is a binary. It says inventory chips. That's actually not the best way to do this, but again, we're doing this really, really fast, so I just wanted to make sure that it got through. Again, enumerations and structs are probably the way I would go, so that it's just, a check mark on, a spreadsheet, basically, rather than me creating a whole bunch of variables on a single character. But it's effective. And what else is there to say? There's an objective system that I created on using, here it is, objective system. So like getting the chips and stuff. Here's a bunch of different quests. The main quest is to find Prince Craven. You can visit the Elysium, cast Loss's keys, and you got some other quests that were supposed to be in there. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm sure there's a million things that I'm missing because this was very, very complex to put together. But I'm trying to get as much as in there as possible. Sorry if this is information overload too as well, but I just wanted to show how I made this game. There's the main menu, character select. So I actually created an entirely different level for this, but I could show you the blueprints first. Blueprints, so like main menu. There's also like a settings system that I never implemented. That was something that was cut. Speaking of cut content, there was a full inventory system, an equipping system, compulsion system where each of the vampire clans would have their own compulsion, which made them to do a secondary quest to get rid of it. Your haven was cut. Most of the level was cut. Again, there is a corruption that I had to like recreate. I literally had to recreate the full level. You would have got a lot more if I didn't get the file corrupt, which I don't know how that happened. There was a masquerade system where you couldn't go be in combat in certain areas. That's all unfinished, but hey, that's for the next project, right? Future stuff. And which is one of these? This is the credits widget. This is where all the credits were. These are the fantastic individuals that helped put this together by working with voiceover or other support. Here's the character creator widget. Notice that shows the disciplines, and when you show each character, I didn't use that. I was gonna go through and add more into each of the disciplines, but these are the disciplines. Again, there's the, notice it goes off the screen. When you go from character to character, it shows them here, shows what they have. These are the buttons where you set the specialty. They're all widgets programmed here, setting which one's visible. The reason it goes off the screen is because you won't see all of them at once, and so it's condensed enough so that it'll fit in this box at any one time the player will actually see. And let's talk about lessons learned. Actually, you know what? Let me give you a quick preview. A lot of people have not made it to the end of my game. Let me move faster here. So let me show you what Prince Craven looks like. I'm just going to show them real quick. So after I show Prince Craven, you will see them. If you don't want to see them and you want to play the game, skip ahead like 10 seconds because this will be real quick. I will show them right now. So this is Prince Craven. Kind of a cool model. You have to fight Prince Craven, put him down. There you go. There's a good look. Now, I said 10 seconds. I probably busted that. Hide Prince Craven for anybody who wants to see them themselves. And I will come back here. This was a great asset pack. I really liked this 24/7 convenience. There's a lot in here. Actually, I just scaled down quite a lot because I was rushing. But was there anything else to say about this level? Tons. But I should cut this short because it's been going on for quite some time at this point. Lessons learned. I need to work on optimization. Need to learn my AI better. On to the next project. Please drop a line. Let me know if you have any questions or what you think. Thank you. Have a good night.